great honor to your pastor and his wife, Brother and Sister Davis, for allowing us to come and just taking us in. Now, I'm a crier by nature, so I will do this a lot, but it's in our G's. We a lot of work. We came in periodically to be with Brother and Sister Davis and their families, and all along the way, before you ever got this far. And I'm just thankful for what you've done and how you stood behind your pastor and his wife and his family. And I can tell you, they love you all very, very, very much, and they have you at the heart, and that's a wonderful thing. I want to thank Sister Joyce and Sister Karen for working for me so that I could go to this conference. You will never know what it does for a pastor and wife, for future ministers and their wives to come and sit under men that have the Lord has blessed greatly like that. And like Brother Davis said, we just all come together and they just admonish us to do whatever we can do to do it quickly and give it your very best. Now, I guess this morning I thought of Sunday school. So I have object lessons. Mine's a little different, but there is a reason for it. Sister Hayes, if you would come get these Dorito chips, or if Daniel wants to get them for her, would you bring these to Sister Hayes? Because of the times of God's healing power. And what, brother, now this is simple as it can be, okay? What happened is God offered Sister Hayes healing. And she could have said yes or no. She could have had faith or not had faith. But because she had faith, she got what she needed. Brother Lee Stone King, who was on the front of a herald not long ago because he had been clinically dead for 45 minutes. He was in Australia at an airport. He fell over in a restaurant and he was dead. And they say it was 30 minutes, but when he talked to the ambulance driver, it was actually 45 minutes. And they had coded him DOA in the ambulance going to the hospital. And God miraculously healed him. He was able to go back to the same place the following year and go in the restaurant where he had laid dead. And a waitress that had worked when he was there recognized him, and she just started crying and said, "Oh, you look so good." And he said, "I feel so good." And then he went and got the manager, or she went and got the manager, and she came out and said, "Is that really you? You look so good." And he says, "Well, I feel so good." And then the doctor that was there that took care of him, he was able to he thought maybe he would just give him a little bit of his time, but he wanted to show him what God had done. Not what anybody else, but what God had done. And he walked in his office, and the man talked to him about 25 minutes, this doctor, and he said, "Here, I want you to take your x-rays and all those things so you can see what God really did for you." And the doctor said, "You look so good." Brother Stone King said again, "Well, I feel so good." And I thought about the whole conference. They were telling us to get outside the four walls, to go and find people where they're at, like Brother Landon said about Brother Maddox. He went to the people that they were giving away sleeping bags, microwaves. I mean, these people needed that. We take things like that for granted sometimes. These people needed those things. And so they ministered to them. And then if we can get out of the four walls, like Brother Davis is saying, admonishing us to do, that when we go to the next level, God is going to be there and he's going to meet our needs. And we heard testimonies and people telling us that over and over and over again. And Faith, I want you to come get these cookies, okay? These cookies represent salvation. And that's the sweetest thing that we could ever get. And that's what they just kept telling us. People want what we have. Don't be scared to tell them about it. And you don't have to be the best Bible scholar. You got Brother Davis and his sons and some of you that can teach Bible studies. Just tell them what God did for you, and he's going to come. There was one more thing. There was a little boy. I guess he was 9 or 10 that they had prayed. How old was he? He was 10 or 11. And they started in Faith, and Sister Nikki and all you that work with the little kids, it's awesome because they had this young little guy, about 10 or 11, and he came up and he prayed for the conference. And if you could have heard this little boy pray, he just prayed so diligently, and he said, oh, God, give them what they need. But he wasn't playing. It was from that little guy's heart. And I thought if we can raise them up in the way they should go, they will not depart from it. It doesn't matter what comes against you as parents. It doesn't matter what comes against you in the form of the end time that we're living in. If God can use the little children, he will. And I'm just thankful that I got to go. I'm so thankful that I'm a part of the United Pentecostal Church. I'm thankful for Buren and all you good saints and your pastor and his wife and family. I'm just thankful that one day God saw that I needed him as a 12-year-old child, and he reached down and he filled me with the Holy Ghost. It's the most awesome conference. My husband and I have missed two since it's been started for about 20 years or so, and each year. But at the very end of the conference this year, as everyone was praying, you minister to one another. It is just awesome. And at the end, when it was closing and everybody was praying for everybody, for healing was prayed for almost every service. Salvation, definitely every service. There was a man, an older man, and he was just seeking God with all of his heart and holding absolutely nothing back. He was speaking in tongues as the Holy Ghost came in and refilled him again and again. And he just laid back, and all these brothers were supporting him and praying for him. And you could just see the glory of God all over this man. And I just want to say, you do the same for your pastor. You men get behind him, and as he feels alone, as he's just speaking in tongues and feeling the glory of God, you just hold him up. And before it's all over with, every man around him and himself are just shouting and praising God, and God bless them all. And that's what he's going to do, because I believe it's in the last days. It's wonderful to be part of the United Pentecostal Church.